Hello, beautiful people. Welcome back to the Podcast, your weekly podcast for all things gaming, gaming news, and all things entertainment related. I'm your host for this evening, Aiden, joined by my co-hosts.
I'm Ethan.
I'm David.
And I'm Leighton.
So for this evening, we have something that we've had a couple times on the podcast.
Just a few times.
Just a few times. It's
a few lost episodes here and there.
Yeah,
Definitely not a staple of our
couple.
podcast.
Yeah, no, these are the episodes that never get edited. But we obviously enjoy playing games and enjoying experiencing new games. So we've decided to share that all with you every couple of weeks when we decide to find a good game that's worth talking about. So
And we scheduled them. We try to chug them out too. Every once in a while, we'll be like finding a game that we're just like, we have to review this.
yes, we have.
One of those games that we were like that was Redfall, if you remember.
Yeah,
And then we all
let's
decided,
review it.
no.
It's like, oh my god,
Bro.
4-player co-op and like awesome graphics, and then we gotta review this, and then it comes out, and we're like, we're not reviewing this.
We didn't want to
If a
put
game-
ourselves through that.
Yeah, if a game gets like review bombed so heavily like it did Redfall, it's just not worth it.
It's
It is
not.
like, because if we know it's going to be a bad experience, why are we going to review it? That kind of thing.
Mm.
I don't know.
Bro, you know what's cool too, though, is like, while some of the games that we'll be talking about today are, well, actually both of them are very new games. One of them is very popular, and one of them's kind of niche, I think. So it's really neat to think about like the breadth of that entire spectrum that we're going
two
through.
very different games being
The,
reviewed today.
the breadth of the wild.
Yeah, very funny.
Sorry.
That's funny.
I-
You're funny. You're
I
funny. You're a
can't.
funny
I
guy.
can't.
You're really funny.
I really
Okay,
love looking at all the machinations that people can come up with for a certain new release by Nintendo.
That game is awesome.
Oh,
I love it so
absolutely.
much.
Oh, dude, it looks amazing. I really can't wait to play it,
No,
but I
I-
also
I
don't want to drop
seriously-
70.
I'm gonna drop 70 eventually.
Eventually, yeah.
It's so worth it. I'm sorry. I
No,
didn't even pay for it, but like
what
I would
I've
do
been
it again.
seeing, what
I
I've
would-
been
I would.
spoiled and seeing on TikTok, it's worth it. It's
Bro,
so-
I
It
haven't
is.
I haven't touched any content related to it. Literally
I'm
not
so
a thing.
proud of you. I'm
good.
so proud of you because that game is literally going to be like Jesus comes
I don't-
down and kisses you on the lips kind
No,
of thing.
seriously, if you loved Breath of the Wild and
I-
Zelda in general, it is just like Hylia descending from the heavens to give you a kiss on the cheek.
Dude, I'm
I haven't had
legitimately
a
so
game-
excited.
Like other than the game that we'll be talking about today, recently, like game like it where I looked down at the clock, played for a while, looked back up the clock, and it had been 5 hours later, and it literally felt like 2. And I was like,
That was me
What
with
happened?
Terraria recently.
Dude, speaking of which, we gotta get Ethan to play. Ethan
gotta.
Ethan has revealed something. Ethan, you're not gonna say it? You're not gonna say it? Ethan,
No,
we're
no,
gonna
no,
get
no,
you
no,
into it.
no, no,
We're gonna
no,
get him
no,
into
We're
it.
gonna get you into it. Screw Tears of the
Bro,
Kingdom. You're gonna be
It
playing
is
with us.
legitimately. It is a better version of Minecraft, I swear to God. Like, in
Oh my
my
God.
humble opinion.
It is
Doo-doo-doo-doo.
so good. It's so good.
So,
It's
do
a
we want to
different
jump
game.
into it?
So
It's a totally different
who
game.
wants
but
to go
yes,
first? Which one of you wants to go first?
I think
We go
this one
original
should.
plan?
I think this one should go first.
Alrighty. So
I'm so excited.
the the first game that David is going to talk about is Coffee Talk 2. This game came out semi recently, and went to, I believe, Game Pass, right? It went on Xbox Game Pass and was.
It was direct to Game Pass, by the way. So
Was it? Dang.
Yeah.
Direct to Game Pass, always a very helpful thing for a game dev because then people will play it because it's often, well, free. And you've played Coffee Talk 1, so you already had an intro to the
Yeah.
franchise.
Yeah.
And I'll be introducing that just a little bit too when I get into the actual review because I feel like it is fundamental to understand the differences between the two games.
yeah. It was released by is it Toge Productions? I think.
Yeah, Toge Productions.
Toge or two. Yeah.
And what's
do you know
really
what-
interesting about it, it was released April 20th, so a little over a month ago, like a month and a day ago, to be exact.
Coffee Talk is
which
a
is
recent
really
game.
neat.
It only came out in 2020.
Well, yeah, Coffee Talk, the first one, was a very recent game. What's sad is one of the lead developers actually has died since then. So
That's
there
sad.
are a few, yeah, there are a few mentions of him and his legacy throughout the game as well. As I believe some of the characters are actually based on the character himself. So that's really neat. But I'll get into that when we talk about the review and everything. So
All right. Can you give us a little background for both the games?
yeah, absolutely. So I wrote out this entire thing that I'm probably not going to read word
No,
for word,
you just
but
He
wing
wrote
it.
a
simply,
full synopsis, a thesis paper,
yeah,
full
legitimately, this is my
full nursing
doctoral
major.
thesis. Yeah, yeah,
On
yeah.
Coffee Talk 2.
Oh my god, my brother was writing an entire fucking paper about Dark Souls 3 and the music. I was like,
I
oh
mean,
my god.
respect.
What a Chad! What a Chad!
It's because
Okay,
he's correct.
so Coffee Talk 2 is titled Coffee Talk 2 Hibiscus and Butterfly and I find it really interesting because the only difference between really the first game and the second game is the characters and two ingredients within the ingredient list, which is hibiscus flowers and butterfly pea tea, which is just this blue tea type thing. But to get into a bit of a background, it is set in an alternate reality of Earth in rainy Seattle, where they have all sorts of diversity, but not the typical diversity that you see with racial individuals with among humans. It is diversity among different interspecies diversity, if you will. You are a coffee shop owner with the knack to make people talk, so thus you name your coffee shop Coffee Talk. And during my research for this game and everything like that, I found that Coffee Talk is actually an actual shop, a real place in Vermont,
Awesome.
which is really cool. It's not, it has no relation, but the fact that it's Coffee Talk, it legitimately is insanely similar with the logo and everything. It threw me off
That's
because I
really
was like,
cool.
there's no way that like this is based on anything. It's not at all, but it was really cool.
It's like it's like the Freddy Fazbear's Pizza restaurant pictures
Dude, seriously.
in like
Um,
Ohio or something.
in this game, you act as the coffee shop owner and the main barista. I don't think there's any other ones. You're just the main one. What it is basically is it is a nighttime coffee shop, which is an odd thing, but it's meant for those night owls who are coming in late and need some extra coffee and need some people to talk to and stuff like that and some time to work. And essentially you kind of act as a neutral observer who inputs obvious details about the characters and people who are talking to you. And that's kind of the background of it. Rainy Seattle, you have all sorts of interspecies things, anything from sirens to dwarves to gnomes to werewolves and everything like that. So
How about
you kind of get
how,
that
how
diversity type stuff.
how about an interdimensional space being?
Why are you looking up the game, Leighton?
Because because I like to look at the images and like
Can you
look
spell
around
Uh-huh.
while we're talking.
Uh-huh. I'm sure you like to look at the images, right, Leighton? Yeah.
What am I not
So,
allowed?
oh no. So getting into this, the story is really interesting as it is primarily more character driven than anything. I mean, it makes sense. The theme of the entire story, the game, is that these characters walk in and they talk to you about their lives and what's happening. These people can range from Myrtle and Aqua, who are like game devs, to like famous internet celebrities, like guy, I think it's a stayer named Lucas, and or even like in the new Coffee Talk 2, they've introduced this character named Riona, who is a siren who only comes out during the rain. And it's
That's
really
actually really
interesting.
cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. But all of these characters have their different, motives, their different ways of interacting and stuff like that. But it doesn't really. How do I put this? It doesn't necessarily constitute as a story, if that makes sense. It is a
Hmm.
character piece, if anything, if that makes sense. So
It's like learning about characters rather than a story going on.
yeah.
Kind of
You
thing.
kind of learn about the characters. They tell you about their lives and everything like that. And there's not necessarily like a driven story arc. Like in, for example, like The Witcher, you're going out to find Yennefer of Vengerberg or something like that. I
Oh yeah.
Oh
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is
Oh
this gonna
yeah.
be the new Disco Elysium? See how many times David mentions The Witcher.
Bro, I'm playing that game. I'm loving it. Literally, I'm surrounding myself with Witcher content right now. I have read all the way through Blood of Elves. I bought the rest of the series,
Bro,
based on that
I could
book.
have let you borrow them. I have all of them.
Bro, I'm serious. I am
Knowledge.
in a reading frenzy right now. Like it is
The
crazy. I
Witcher's so
finished,
good. It's such a great
dude.
series, though.
Did you finish any of the books?
I've finished the first book, or sort of. Like I read, like it wasn't like I need to go back and actually read it all the way through because it was kind of
Bro,
like
it's
a
really sick.
distraction
It
book.
was such a good book. But yeah. Getting back into it. Yeah, it's based mainly around the characters and stuff. There's no necessarily driven objectives or story things. There are personal set objectives, as is kind of the nature of these story-driven visual novels. But there isn't really necessarily like you have to do this type thing. Your objective
Mhm.
is to do this. You set those for yourself. If you want to mess up a coffee recipe, go ahead and mess up a coffee recipe. If you want to go ahead and like piss off a customer, piss them off. It is your full choice. There is nothing really that is like an objectively wrong thing to do with playing the game. Um, that being said, there isn't dialogue options. So basically, you are
Hmm.
the person. You will say what you're programmed to say, and you just go through and you read it as a novel, which is really interesting. So to get onto the gameplay type stuff of it, as a visual novel, the game is kind of all about the auto feature. One click and basically the dialogue will go for itself. You literally don't have
I've
to press
watched you
a
do this.
single button. Yeah, you don't have to press a
Yeah.
single button unless you're making coffee.
David,
And which
try
is,
not to have his favorite game be a book challenge impossible.
bro, that game
Actually,
is
though,
He's
shut
literally
up.
playing The Witcher 3 right now. It's a
What's
book.
your
Bro,
favorite?
It's a game
bro,
adapted from a book.
bro,
I
they're
do
so
actually.
good though.
I have a quick
There's a
question
lot
for
of
you.
games like that.
Do you think that Coffee Talk in that auto feature did it take that like? I know making coffees is a big thing, but like, would you have rather had a like, oh, I can choose this, or did you enjoy the just kind of sitting back and reading thing?
Oh no, if they definitely had like a you insert your dialogue option or something like that. Like for example, take Skyrim for example. Like you can say multiple different things to
Hmm.
different people. If they had something like that, that would make the game infinitely more immersive. But maybe that's not what they were going for because as it stands, it is basically a cut and paste visual novel. It is
Hmm.
a novel that is visual with
Yeah,
elements of like kind of gameplay sprinkled in.
to follow up with that, I've never played Coffee Talk 1 and I haven't played 2 obviously. But I did play a game similar called Valhalla, or it's spelled like V dash A11 Allah. It's same concept where you're making coffee and you're just interacting with customers, but instead of coffee it's alcohol and you're a bartender and you make different drinks for different customers. And in that game, you do have a bit of dialogue, and you have like a choice of dialogue to choose because you're playing not as like yourself, but you're playing as an actual character who interacts, and you can like see that character. And
Bro,
Huh.
I
I
honestly
know.
wish that were the case here. Like, there
Uh,
really is no input other than the pre-programmed responses to
I
things.
hi- I highly recommend checking out Valhalla. It's really fun, but
Oh, it's cyberpunk.
espe-
What?
yeah, no, it's really fun.
Oh
It's really
wait, I
interesting, and it's a similar vein of kind of game. But I know to get to my question, I know in Valhalla, if you make specific drinks, like if you can actually choose the drink to make for the person. Like it's not specific. I mean, sometimes it's specific. You have to make this one, or it's wrong. Um, but sometimes you have the option to choose like which drink to make, and it's up to you. Like somebody will say, yeah, I want something strong, and you have all of the options of drinks that you can choose to make that are strong drinks, but they're all kind of different, and they all
Every
elicit
single
a
option.
different response. They elicit a different response from the customer. Is it the same in Coffee Talk, where if you make a different kind of coffee for somebody, say somebody orders something and you make something slightly different for them, and that person, like, than what somebody might normally give them, does that person have like a different like dialogue feature, or is it you have to make this specific thing?
Okay, so you're getting into one of the coolest aspects of this game. And to really get into that, I want to talk a little bit more about like how you create the drinks in the game. So you have three ways that you create. Well, okay. A customer will give you an order. What they'll say generally is, "Hey, can you make me what I had last time?" It can be as simple as that, or it can be something as, "Hey, I want something sweet. I want it coffee based, and I want it to also have like a hint of ginger." It can be as detailed as that. With the coffee maker, you have to choose a primary layer, which will generally be like a tea of some sort, a tea, coffee, or like a flour of some sort. Then you go to the secondaries, which is you have a primary of the secondary, which is generally like your milks and your creamers or like honeys and stuff like that. And then you have like one that's a
Yeah.
little lighter, which makes it, a little frothier, or like whatever you want to make with the drink. But you, combining those different ingredients in all sorts of different ways, you create all sorts of different drinks. If a customer were to say, "Hey, I want some like a coffee or something like that. I want a coffee that's a little sweeter," then you have a lot of choices to do there. However, the game does push you in certain directions with when you create a drink that is correct or seemingly correct, it will have different names for the coffees or
Hmm.
the drinks that you create. So,
Yeah.
for example, in one of the coolest interactions in the entire game was with this character, my personal favorite character named Gala. He is a werewolf, and in
Hmm.
order to tame his werewolf nature, what they call the fury in the game, he has organic teas to try to calm him down because coffees will only make him have his fury quicker, and his the teas will help him calm down a little bit because he works as a hospital assistant at the night shift, which is really cool. Um,
It's
and
actually really neat.
yeah, it's a
Huh.
really interesting character. Um,
David, why might you like this character, Mr. Nursing Major? Why?
We knew.
What's
Dude,
the?
it's so sick. It's so sick. He's such a cool character. Legitimately, if you look up pictures of him, he's like covered in bandages from head to toe because of his, his constant difficulties with being a werewolf. And that's one of the cool things about it is all these characters based on who they are, the type of like, race they are and everything they embody, they have different problems and different features and stuff like that. But what I was getting into with the gameplay with this guy is he comes in and he says, "Hey, there isn't there isn't a surefire thing about this, but I really need something that is going to help me calm down being, a furious werewolf, especially during my night shift. Can you help me create a drink that does this?" So over the span of the first game, you experiment with drinks and stuff, and eventually you find one that helps him calm down. And that's called the Galahad. Um, and that actually carries over into the second game, and they give you a little hints and stuff like that. But that was one of the coolest experiences because you experiment through the entire game trying to find this drink for him. It's really neat. Um,
Oh, that's interesting. So, yeah, no, just real quick, I looked it up. The game I was talking about, Valhalla, it came out June 21st, 2016, and Coffee Talk, the first one, came out on the 29th of January 2020. So, I mean, a very similar game style, and it must have had some sort of influence from
oh, absolutely. Yeah,
Valhalla,
definitely.
uh, as it was like the first of that kind of game style. And I don't know of any other game that has that sort of medium that uses it. So
Toughest
it is
computer
really
game.
interesting.
I'm joking. I'm totally joking.
It's actually kind of interesting to see. I looked it up on Steam, and it's actually a part of a like pack that includes Coffee Talk. So it's a pack of all different games like that, and both of them are
Oh,
in the
that's
same
awesome.
pack.
That's
So
interesting.
what's
I didn't
really
know that.
interesting
It's
is
called the
when I
Long
was looking
Story Short
through
pack.
I got Valhalla as a standalone. That's interesting.
some reviews for Coffee Talk and stuff, trying to base of what I was off of, Some of the reviews I had was saying, "Oh, it's very similar to this. It's just much more relaxing of a version," which is fully true. The game itself is comically relaxing, to the extent where sometimes it becomes bothersome if you really just want something a little more, attention grabbing. But for those who are just playing a game to relax, those who are the typical, Stardew Valley goers, the Slime Rancher doers, those types of people, that this is a game that's very similar to that type of pacing. But if you're really interested in the coffee or drink making feature of the game, there is an endless mode that does have limited mistakes, and it's based on day cycles and stuff like that. But it's less about the characters and more so about the drink making, which is a really cool feature because I personally love the drink making aspect of the game.
Yeah.
So before we move off of gameplay and the story and the background and everything, any more questions you guys have?
No, you've explained it pretty well.
Yeah, no, you've gone pretty in depth, and I just wanted to relate it over to Valhalla. I was looking at that bundle that you came out with, Aiden, and while the other games do look interesting on it, the long story short bundle on Steam, they don't quite match the same mechanics that Valhalla and Coffee Talk both give off. So I'd like to know if there is anything else, any other game like that, but. No, that's all I have. I just
Well,
wanted to relate it to that.
something that like I related it to was, take a dating sim. Take Doki Doki for example. It is
Well,
honestly,
there's more to that one.
yeah, that
Yeah.
that one's a little interesting, but like,
That's a little bit of a adjacent example.
I think the concept of character interaction, though, I think that's what you're getting at.
yeah, that's kind of what I was getting at, and plus, like, it is a visual novel. To expound on that further, I forget who it was. I was playing Coffee Talk 2. Oh no, it might have been Coffee Talk 1. But someone walked in the room and goes, "Dude, you're playing a dating sim?" And I go, No, it is completely not a dating sim. It just looks a lot like a dating sim."
Oh yeah,
That
I think
sounds
that's
Justin.
It might have been Truth or Justin, seriously. But
Truth would have been
honestly,
interested. That sounds like a Justin thing.
the gameplay is kind of very similar to that type of stuff. It's really neat. It's a neat game, and honestly, it's worth a check out if you are interested in the game. But to talk a little bit more and to expound a little bit more, I want to talk about the music. So the music is a lo-fi thing, and they have, how do I put this? They mention the creator of the music consistently throughout the second game. And it's very interesting because they treat him like he's a person within the game, but he is same outside of the game and stuff like that. He actually in the game works with one of the people who comes into the cafe, so you end up talking about him consistently. But the music itself is a lo-fi track. A very, very chill, laid back, and easy to study to. But
Nothing to complain about, but nothing really to write home about.
it's extremely repetitive. There are like three
Mm.
tracks which go over and over again. Not bad, but definitely kind of repetitive. And
how
something
long
that
do
I
you think
wish,
they are?
honestly, a minute and a half to two
Ooh.
minutes.
Ooh, that's rough.
You could have said
Yeah.
That's
you could
really
have said
rough.
like a 20-minute lo-fi like riff, and I would have been like,
Nah,
"Oh,
man.
that's not so bad." And then you said 1 minute,
I
and
mean,
I'm like, hmm.
yeah, it is something that's notable. Definitely notable.
Mm.
And it's not like the type of thing with like, Terraria or something like that. You hop on the game, like you have a certain thing, you walk to a different area, the music changes. But like, it's the same track throughout the entire game. It's the same loop over and over again, which takes away from it. Sure, they're very relaxing. However, you know, not the greatest. I will say though, with quality of life stuff, and moving on to my second section, the quality of life, the UI and the way this game is designed, for what they're going for, it is perfect. I legitimately have no critiques, no anything. It is exactly what I wanted for the game. It is exactly what I needed for
That's
the
great.
game too. Especially the coffee making part, elegant, sleek, and fun. It is perfect in that aspect. But I also want to touch on the visuals. Like the music, the visuals are fantastic. However, there are very few notable individuals. But with visuals and stuff, amazing pixel art, fantastic. However, each character has like 5 animations, and it is not my favorite thing because I love the character designs. I think it's great. I wasn't the biggest fan on the fact that they don't have a lot of movement and a lot of things to make it feel like, they're a real animated being.
Yeah, I am
Do
a
you remember seeing stuff about? Sorry, Aiden. Um, do you remember seeing stuff about As Dusk Falls? Do you remember that game?
Oh yes, yeah,
Um,
definitely. I had
do
it
you remember
downloaded
the
for a
like?
bit.
Do you remember like the visual stuff that they had, where it's like it's almost like a like flipping a flip book or something like that, where the characters like stays still and then flips to another position and then flips to another. Is it kind of like that, or is it just like is it an animation or something like that?
It's not even an animation. It's like if someone jump cut something. And it's
Hmm.
like
it's
one position,
it
they start like this and then jump cut, they're like this, and then jump cut and they're
yeah,
like
it's
this.
like simple
Oh.
pixel animations rather than a like actual like pixel style. I am a
Yeah,
huge
yeah.
sucker for pixel art, good pixel art. Like Chucklefish has like some of the best pixel art that I've seen
Oh,
with
it's
their like
fantastic.
Eastward and Stardew Valley and all that. For just looking at the art from this game, very very good art. Animations could probably use a top up, and same with music from what you've told me. My first thought was, do you know if there's like mods for this game that say
You
update
know,
like better animations or better music?
I haven't looked into it. I'm sure there are some. However, this is a very new game. Like very
Yep.
new game. I'm sure Coffee Talk 1 has more of that stuff. But I mean, I'd be honestly surprised if there were too many of them because that seems like something a lot of people would just gloss over. And it seems like a game people would play for relaxing reasons, not for like hardcore 100%ing, like getting the most epic endings and stuff like that. That is something else I
Paw
wanted to
Patrol.
say.
Paw Patrol.
Yeah, the Paw Patrol, 100%.
Yeah.
But
Uh,
that's something I wanted to say as well. There is multiple different endings for this game, and multiple that come out with like different types of stuff. What's difficult about that is to get to one of the endings, you have to play through like 5 hours of gameplay, which is kind of frustrating. So that's
Hmm.
why I kind of only ended up playing each of these games one time. Um, both of which I got an okay ending, not the good ending, but yeah, there are multiple different endings to this, and they're all, very similar, but uh, changing slight things here and there.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
before I move on to my critiques and recommendations, do you guys have any more questions or anything?
no.
Um, I mean, I talked to Nick about this because we were online and he was like, David's playing a game called Coffee Talk. What is that? Like hibiscus, and he couldn't say it right or something like that. But
No fucking
he
way.
honed
It's Nick.
he honed down the point of like it sounded dumb, and so I explained it to him. I was like, it's a story game, and you make coffees, and it's just supposed to be a laid back like story thing. And his kind of connotation on it was just like he didn't understand how it would be fun. And I think my question for you, and I know that's the type of, I kind of answered with it, is the type of gamer you are. You like sitting down and watching those things and stuff like that. But do you think that like one of us would enjoy the game, or do you think it's probably a miss for at least us three? And
It is
like a hit
a
for your.
very, very niche game. I
Okay.
think, to be fully honest, the only person who might enjoy it would be Aiden. I think both you, Ethan, and Leighton would kind of be losing your mind if you were to touch the
Yeah.
game. Um, like for me, I'm okay with that stuff because I kind of treated it like a book. And I like to read and I like sitting back and relaxing. But it, in all reality, is a book with visual aspects. So if you're good with sitting down and reading a 6 hour long picture book, I'd say go ahead, but it certainly isn't for everyone's taste. And
I
that's where I get into some of the critiques and stuff. So,
yeah. I mean, just to finish, and then you can go right in. I think honestly, stuff like the game Norco that I played, that you guys saw. I think Norco would be kind of that dive into what I would enjoy because that had aspects of like, okay, you're clicking somewhere, you're going to the next thing, you're finding out more about this area, but as well as you get that dialogue option. You get this like, okay, this is what you can say. You can also say this. You can say this, and it changes the outcome of how that person interacts with you. And I think something like Coffee Talk would be like, I kind of get bummed if I couldn't say my own thing. But I honestly would be willing to give it a try, I think. But
So what's rough is not rough. Let me put this. So I think we've all experienced this thing. We want to play a game, but we can't find a game to play. So this game is perfect for
Yeah.
that. You want to play a game, but you can't find a game to play, so you pop on Coffee Talk, do a bit of story, do a bit of playing the thing, and then you get the urge to play, I don't know, maybe like a more high intensity game like Fortnite, something, maybe you want to play Overwatch, maybe you want to play Diablo 3, which I've been playing lots of recently. So um but that is, I feel it fills two niches. One of which is the I am bored of playing all these other games and I want something to sit down and relax to. And the second is I am a relaxed gamer like myself and I want to seek out new games, new indie and relaxed games, kind of like the past ones that I've played before, and I'm looking to try something new. So that's really the two niches that I go for. So getting into the critiques and stuff, for what the game is, it is quite done. For the objective they have, great. The real driving point of the game is the coffee creations, the characters, and the visuals. What disappoints me as a story slash indie gamer is the story and the interactive parts of the game. Uh, like for it being a visual novel, the story's pretty lacking, and the characters seem somewhat two-dimensional, and especially in comparison to what the first game was. Um, like you have no interactions with the characters, like for what I brought up earlier with Gala. You have no interactions like that with the characters this time, which is starkly disappointing in my opinion. But you know, it's okay. Neither of the games were necessarily stand out for their story, but they were both pretty good for what they gave. But I do have some recommendations with that. Dive into the characters more. Seriously, that is the best thing with this game besides the coffee creations. Dive into them. Give something to the player. Maybe not give something to like the player character. Give something to the player. Give some background of the characters or something like that. Maybe like, you have like a character thing. They kind of dug into it a little bit with the you have this phone in the second game called the Tomata Chill or something like that. It's like one of the apps. It's kind of represents its Instagram, and you can go through and see kind of what their lives are like and stuff like that. And that was a major improvement over the first game, in my opinion. It in my opinion actually bumped it up an entire mark. So it is something that if you want to dive into these characters more, maybe flesh out something on those types of apps or those types of interactions. And the thing is, I don't want details about the character's life shoehorned in. It makes it seem lazy. I want it to feel like maybe I discovered it or maybe I learned about it through another method or something like that. And there are definitely different ways that you could do this. For example, like the app developers I was talking about, or like game developers I was talking about earlier, Aqua. If maybe you could try a sample of her game or something like that, it would be really neat. But I think Aqua serves more as like a developer character more than it did like a character, which is kind of neat. And that's why you don't really see Aqua in the second game because the main developer died, which is one of the sad things. But it's really neat. But as for the story, perhaps add more details. Ambient descriptions being a huge part of what I want to see. It could greatly improve the feeling of the moment. Like, while you can see the ambience and the ambiance and stuff like that, like, yeah, I can tell that it's raining. Maybe put a description like as the clouds overhead began to rain or pour something like that. A mysterious figure who you've never seen walks in or something like that. That could just make the game feel a lot more, real, and especially it being a visual novel, just makes it a little bit beefier. So, before I get into my overall rating, any more questions, guys?
I don't think so. I think I'm good.
No, I don't really have a question. I just want to comment on what you were saying there. It seems like the game itself the mechanics, as far as it was concerned, and for what it wasn't that bad. But it seems like the story itself was not really up to par for what a story should be, especially when the game is specifically centered around that kind of like interaction where you're trying to like be immersed in this world, and it wasn't doing too great of a job of doing that, at least in the second game, from what I'm hearing. And
Absolutely.
yeah, so that makes sense.
I mean, to talk a little bit more about it, like comparing it to other story games, especially my 10 out of 10 being like Disco Elysium and like 9 out of 10 being like Life is Strange True Colors, it definitely doesn't hit the mark with the story that those two games did. Like,
Yeah.
and though both
Hmm.
those games paint vivid and far-reaching descriptions with their characters, with their stories, with their ambiance and everything, this one just didn't hit that. So, without further ado, my
Oh,
rating of the game.
really
Oh,
quickly,
oh,
really
oh.
quickly, before you give a rating, I just want to, since this is, um, I know people are like, oh, I want the rating, the rating, but real quick, I just want to uh, overlay real quick and relate to something that I've played back to Valhalla, because that's kind of just the main story-driven game I've played like that, like of this kind. I just want to relate. Like Valhalla had a sequence in which, like as far as ambiance and setting are concerned, there was a sequence in which there was like an explosion outside of the bar, and like there was a whole police thing that happened, and there were sirens and everything, and you had a character like come in. That was the introduction for one of the characters, and one of the characters was like like a medic, like on-site medic who was working that it like crash that had just happened like outside of the bar. It was really interesting, and so I'm kind of it does seem disappointing that like it'd be cooler to see games that have developers kind of integrate stuff from like ambiance and setting into the story a little bit better. Um, which it seems like Coffee Talk 2 at least had a hard time doing, delivering on.
So, I want to relate it further to a game you guys might have experienced or played before. If you guys remember Papers, Please, it
Yeah.
Oh
it
yeah.
gives me similar vibes rating wise to that game, if you can rate it. So, without further ado, without any more comments or questions, I'm going to rate it a 7.5 out of 10. So,
Hmm.
not insanely high, not as high as I would have liked to have put it, but it did bump itself up a full point when I started thinking about it, from a 6.5 to a 7.5 when I put in those like extra features of like the cell phone and stuff like that. But yeah, a really good game overall, I'd say, especially from an indie dev that you should definitely check out, and definitely, pay tribute and stuff like that to the lead dev who did pass away of this past year. So, yeah, that will be it for my Coffee Talk review, a 7.5 out of 10. So,
And
Alrighty.
going from sort of hold on,
Yay!
sort of from that, like just for listeners and people watching right now, I believe we're going to do like a write-up thing and probably post elsewhere of just kind of summarizing our thoughts and putting out our ratings going forward, just so people can kind of visualize that, and they can kind of see our thoughts on sort of paper, I guess, but also post it on social medias and stuff like that.
also,
So
by
look
the
out for
way,
that.
if you really want to talk and give us your opinions about our ratings and stuff like that, please join our Discord. Tell us what you
Yes,
think.
please.
We love our group interaction. We love our fan
Oh,
interaction.
yes.
Please come by, because we really, I don't know, that makes what we do feel so much more validating, because we love what we do. We love talking about this stuff, and we'd love to hear your guys' interactions, because what if I'm totally off base? Maybe this was a 10 out of 10. Maybe it was a 0 out of 10. Let me know. So,
Maybe it was the
Even
worst
like
game ever, and David just has bad opinions.
even being
Maybe
able to
Disco
like
Elysium.
play
may-
games with us.
Maybe
Sorry.
Disco Elysium is actually a 0 out of 10, and David just again has the worst opinions ever.
That
Please
sounds
I don't
bad.
tell
know.
us.
Sounds bad.
You guys wouldn't know that. You guys wouldn't know because you haven't touched the goddamn game.
You
I
know
have no
who
idea what you're
bought?
talking about.
You know, I have the game. I bought it.
I've certainly purchased Disco
I
Elysium.
don't have it. I don't have it. So,
I haven't played it yet.
but
The Discord
that
server
kind of
join
Discord
link is in
aspect.
the link tree on our Instagram at forlightpodcast. So please come and join and give your opinions. We'd love to have you.
Yes,
And even
please.
playing games that you guys want to see us review or something like that, like we can play together, or just hop into a squad or something and roll some Fortnite. I don't know. We'll see,
Some
but
Fortnite
it's up to you
dubs,
guys.
Seriously,
I'd
if
be
you guys wanna
willing.
play with us,
I'd be
I'd be
willing.
totally willing to play games with you guys, like 100%, guys. Okay, so are we
would love
on to game 2?
Are we ready for game 2? Alrighty.
Yes, sir.
So these two reviewed a game. This one traveled all the way to our local GameStop
Also,
just to get the thing physical the day it came out.
You said this one, and audio listeners have no
Oh,
idea what you're
this-
talking about.
Yeah, but you're the one talking, so this one isn't
this
Ethan.
Ethan.
There you go.
We went to our local mall and picked up the game physical, and
Oh,
he didn't
hold on.
stop. It was finals week, and he did not stop playing it. The second game that we are going to be reviewing today is Jedi Survivor. Leighton and Ethan, please take it away.
Ethan,
I'll
you
start
want to
because
go ahead and go first? Because
yeah, you
yeah.
didn't write any background down because you're stupid. But
I
so
don't know what you're talking about. My document's totally filled out. Yeah,
No,
the
you
game
definitely
released-
wrote something. You wrote something for the background, if I remember.
The game released on April 28th, this year,
bro, you're
2003.
reading my notes.
It was
Get out of here.
released by
Get outta
Respawn
here.
Entertainment.
You're the worst. You can't be talking like you did the work here. I went out. I researched. Okay. This guy.
Bro, meanwhile, you look at my script and it's literally like an entire like written out document, while theirs is just like highlighted notes.
Hey man, I have a good summary at the end. Okay. All right.
Mine's
I
even
wrote that
worse.
down.
Hey, it's on here. My review is
so,
right here,
Leighton, we
boys.
can't say half of the things on your document on stream.
Yep. But so Jedi Survivor is the sequel to Jedi Fallen Order. It was released by Respawn, and it released April 28th, 2023, as Leighton, if that was put in, but if Leighton mentioned before. It was released on, I believe, Xbox Series X, PC. It might have been put on PlayStation. I think it was put on PlayStation. Let me just do a quick look. But aside from that, it is basically the successor. Successor? That's the right word.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, yep.
It's the sequel.
But it comes after and continues Cal Kestis's journey from the first game, Fallen Order. And
Cal Kestis being the main protagonist of the game, the Jedi who you play as in the story. Funny redhead guy.
In the first one, we had a lot of, it was him, Cal learning how to be a Jedi Knight, being chased by Inquisitors consistently. And this one shifted it towards a new adventure where he's kind of, I think Respawn took it upon themselves to kind of make their own path with Star Wars. Like they still followed, we got a lot of High Republic era stuff, which is before the prequel series, if you guys know that. It's like long before that time.
I think it's nice. We'll get into this more, but I think it's nice that we're seeing that in mainstream stuff because you don't often see stuff about like the High Republic in mainstream Star Wars media, like big games or movies and stuff. So it's cool to see a new adaptation and stuff.
And I think honestly, going off of where this game kind of went, was it paved its path and it explored a new world called Tanalorr. Basically, we shift and we find out that Cal and a group of other people have discovered this world called Tanalorr. And this world is basically behind this abyss, which is connected to a different planet called Kobo. And the game kind of goes off of how are we going to get into this abyss. This place will serve as like a safe haven for the Empire and Cal's adventures and how he's going to get there. And so I think honestly moving into like the story, just to get that out of the way, because this game did release very recently, so we're going to be very, very light on the spoilers. So probably
Yeah, we
Everything
should.
that happens first world and that's it, which is
Yeah.
Coruscant. Anything that kind of dropped in trailers that you saw will also probably mention. But other than that, we're not going to go into any story aspects, so we'll start there.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Oh,
think if you want to, no, you go for it, Lane.
yeah, no, I'm just gonna quickly say that uh, I think Respawn and the devs behind this one and the story writers and stuff did a really good job here in this new series in general. I know we're talking about Jedi Survivor, but I want to talk about this series of games specifically, Jedi Fallen Order and Survivor. As far as the story is concerned, I'm really enjoying what they're doing with it because it's
Oh
something
yeah.
totally new. It's something totally different. It's not, when I say totally different, yeah, you're following the footsteps of a Jedi, but I mean, it's still it's a new story, it's new characters. You're not seeing a whole lot, except for one, you're not seeing a whole lot of the same people over and over again, and it's really nice to see like the explore the new world and explore the new ecosystems and or new. These are things that have been around in like lore and stuff, but you haven't ever really gotten to see a full bit of that. And getting a AAA title that releases that shows off these new things or new to people that really drives in this like totally new story about stuff that had happened between um, I think that seems to be a common theme among mainstream releases nowadays is what happened between Revenge of the Sith and A New Hope, and stuff like that. As far as Star Wars is concerned, besides uh, the sequels, they're doing a very good job with it, and I personally really enjoyed where they went with it so far, both in Fallen Order and Survivor. I managed, for context, I managed to finish Survivor the day before Ethan left because I was playing on his Xbox because my computer would not be able to run this stuff
Hmm.
regardless. If we even ignore the other stuff we'll get into in a bit. My computer wouldn't be able to run either of those games. So I managed to finish Fallen Order and Survivor. The story is, ah, it's very, very engaging, very well written. A lot of character development. That's something that is like, it's a baseline for having any sort of good fantasy story, and they tie it so well together.
Where they go, especially with the planets of this game, was what really took me. Is one of the planets, Kobo, which is kind of that centerpiece. I think Zepho in the previous game was that other centerpiece, but
Yeah.
in here it's Kobo. And Kobo is like a frontier planet. It is not discovered. It's like really far on the outer rim. It's actually pretty close to like the kind of place where people in Star Wars just don't go because it's kind of like a void. And for the most part, it's just like there's nothing there other than two types of enemies, which I'm not going to explain because sort of spoilers. Actually, I'll explain one because they do show it in the trailers, but like droids and you get a little bit of raider stuff, which is like there's no inquisitors, there's no like big bads, there's like a little bit touch of the empire. But again, the empire hasn't reached this area because it's just so far out of like feasible area. There's no like politicians here, there's nobody special. And I think that's what really took me is just this planet is beautiful. There's so much to do. Well, that goes into a negative later, but I'll talk about that. Leighton, I had a question for you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry. I wanted to know, did you think that this game was... Would you have liked the more linear aspect that Jedi Fallen Order had, or did you enjoy the kind of... Because they really spread out here. It's just more Jedi Fallen Order almost.
Yeah, I though I didn't get to touch on it too much because of my time restraints that I had to get through the story because it was that engaging to me and it was so cool. And all of it's canon, which is nuts to me. It's so cool to see a game form come out that is like full actual, like this is part of the story of Star Wars and it fits so well and it's so well written. It's very nice. I wish I had gotten to explore more of the world in which Jedi Survivor takes place, because Fallen Order was really awesome in that it was open world, but it was linear. But Survivor really drove it home with the open world feel to it. Like you could really go around and go explore these things. It was, I don't think this is a spoiler. I think it's just part of the game. It felt like a New Frontier esque, like exploration, like really getting into the nitty gritty of like what a frontier like in space would look like, and
Yeah.
it did a very good job about that because that's what the Outer Rims are. They're frontiers because people haven't explored that at least in this universe, right? And so I thought they really did a good job of fleshing out this whole feeling of open world, and I prefer the fact that they did that because you can follow the linear storyline, and there is a negative there. There is one negative gripe that I have that I'll go into later because it's more of a it's more of a um, like a gameplay esque piece.
Hmm.
We'll get into that in a bit, but I do want I really liked that they opened it up so much, and I felt a little lost at times, but that was my own thing. And if I had the time, I would have just gone out and just goofed around. Like
Oh yeah.
the whole rumor mechanic that they had in function was really cool to go in and explore. And it was like, oh, okay, you can go do this and face this mini boss, and you can have like this reward. You can have some rewards for it, and it was cool and it was enjoyable.
I
And
think
yeah,
the rumor aspect, which is something that they did not do in Jedi Fallen Order, was the side quest component that they just didn't have in Jedi Fallen Order.
yeah,
And some of the rumors were just like some of the characters as well, where you get led to one of the characters, Scuba Stev. He was a fantastic character. Basically, this like what's it called? What is that word? Where you go and you dive for fish.
scuba
Scuba
diver.
Scuba. I don't know why Scuba Stev, and I just didn't get there. I just didn't get there. It's okay. But I think that aspect, like he had so much thought put into that character. He was really funny. And those rumors led you to areas where it's like, oh, you might fight a character, but then also it's like investigate the abandoned shack, and then you fall down like some crazy cavern, and there's a huge boss at the bottom, and it's just this like, oh my god moment.
Yeah.
Which I think they definitely they'd helped from Jedi Fallen Order, because Jedi Fallen Order was really just story beat and side like chest thing. There was no like big
Yeah.
thing.
No, I do want to touch on. I think overall, I'm just really quickly. I'm going to get into this. Is that I think Survivor outplayed Fallen Order by a good bit. Fallen
Yeah.
Order was really good, but Survivor really expanded on stuff, and especially as far as like the little things, the little details. Like when you're talking and interacting with people, everybody is really thought out. Every character you meet is a thought out individual who has like stuff, and even in your enemies can have some fun dialogue stuff that happens between them if you just sit there instead of just going in and rushing in and attacking, which I
Yeah, that was
generally
a
do.
big
So
thing that you did.
I miss a lot of that kind of stuff, but I did see some like one of these other interactions. This has, I mean, that's kind of a spoiler, so I'm not going to get into it, but it's like if you hang on you're going along in like an enemy area and you're like just kind of exploring and you're hanging on a ledge. There's a droid above you, and if you sit there you get a whole dialogue like situation from the droid who like
Yeah.
like Cal is actually listening to this droid talk, and the droid goes on, and then his dialogue ends and Cal jumps up and you do whatever you do to the droid, and then Cal responds. Little details like that, like how he responds to
Yeah.
stuff like that in the game, it really immerses you. It's so much more priceless than just the running along, because
I think
it really gets you into it.
moving from that, do you two have any questions before we go into a little bit of gameplay?
So
Nah, you
it, I have a quick one, really quick.
All right.
Background wise, do people need to play Fallen Order first?
I would say yes. It is kind of, if you can play Survivor, but it is a definite like jump and you will miss a lot of the interaction that it builds characters a lot, especially certain characters that do not
Oh
get
yeah.
fleshed out in Survivor that had a lot of story in Fallen Order that like if you miss that, you might think that like they didn't put a lot of time into those characters and then it falls short.
Yeah, if you don't, you can play Survivor as a standalone video game on its own. If you don't play Fallen Order before that, the story is not going to hit as hard. The story,
Now,
the story of Fallen Order leaning into Survivor is what really kind of drives home the immersiveness of it.
now, out of 10, how much knowledge do I need to have of Star Wars going into the first game? I'm asking for a friend. So
I think honestly, Jedi Fallen Order introduced a lot of new stuff. Not necessarily like so Inquisitors, which were a big thing. Darth Vader made this like team of bad guys, and these guys would go out and hunt Jedi, and that was a concept that we get in like comic books and other sorts of media. But like if you're just a core Star Wars, like I watch the movies, I watch maybe a little bit of the TV shows, you don't get that aspect, and so this game kind of introduced that, explored it a lot more, and I would say honestly, you don't even really need a lot. You need like maybe like a little bit of Star Wars knowledge and like just kind of the concepts of like Jedi and Sith, and that's it.
Yeah,
And then this game
honestly,
kind of tells itself.
yeah, honestly, I had no so till I played Fallen Order, I had been kind of out of the loop as far as like mainstream Star Wars stuff is concerned ever since the sequels. Like I mean, I have watched things like Rogue One, and I've watched Solo and stuff like that, but I had been kind of out of the loop. So getting into Fallen Order did introduce things for me. It did a good job of introducing things, and it didn't have to explain them they didn't have to explain them too much to me. Although I did kind of have Ethan at the side, kind of being like, "Oh my gosh, this is this and this is this," and I was like, "Oh,
Yeah.
okay, that makes sense." I don't think you necessarily need that. I think getting into that, and even if you're watching the mainstream stuff today for Star Wars, you'll understand what's going on. Like in the first game, this isn't a spoiler because it's in the first game. You go to Fortress Inquisitorius and you blow it up. Partly, you blow up one wing of it, and since it's not a spoiler, you do face off Darth Vader. Face off as in you run away from him while he tears everything down. But if you watch Obi-Wan, in watching Obi-Wan, there's Obi-Wan introduces you to the Inquisitors as well. Obi-Wan also introduces you to Fortress Inquisitorius. Like Obi-Wan himself goes to Fortress Inquisitorius and infiltrates it, and then exfiltrates it. And it's not revealed in the game nor in Obi-Wan that either of the stuff that was going on there interacted at all, but you do get that background of what Fortress Inquisitorius is on this water planet, of
Also,
who the Inquisitors are, and like stuff like that.
a little fun fact to that actually is that Jedi Fallen Order actually made Fortress Inquisitorius. We didn't have any background of Fortress Inquisitorius beforehand, and then Obi-Wan actually took that from Jedi Fallen Order, and Obi-Wan literally does almost the same exact path that Cal does, which is really, really cool to see on the big screen and like
It's so
kind
fun
of
to
just
watch.
in person and stuff. But going from that, I think we touch on a little bit of combat and gameplay. I think
Yeah.
what really sold here and in this game is that the gameplay, at least like parkour and stuff like that, it had the same components from the first game, but it also felt so equally, at least to me, fresh and like new. Even
Yeah,
with just two
fresh.
abilities.
Fresh was definitely the way I would put it because even I'm a very big feel kind of person. As far as like anything I do, I'm a very big feel kind of person. So like if I feel it out, I can understand it pretty quickly, or at least the base components of it. Just touching the controller for the first time, playing Survivor, just like getting into the movement, I could immediately feel, because I had played Fallen Order before and it's the same kind of mechanics and stuff, but I could immediately feel that there was huge technical improvements in the movement system.
Oh
The
yeah.
the combat system is so much better than it was in Fallen Order. I say better, I mean as far as like movement and the feel and the flow of things was so much more fleshed out. Like the reactions of like Cal, even if like if you're moving your joystick in one direction, like if you're double, excuse me, yeah, this is part of it. If you're double jumping, because that's an ability you get, one direction,
Beforehand.
but like you're like moving around in another. It's very easy to control what you will do. What you want to do if you do it, like the game will allow you.
If you have a
Like
thought,
obviously,
yeah.
yeah, if you have a thought and you want to do it and you're not doing something stupid, it'll generally work. There's sometimes it's a little bit iffy, but it's a rarity. Like sometimes you'll get stuck in a place that people like didn't really flesh out. But it's a rarity, and it just feels so much more responsive than the first game did.
I think like going from that into combat, um, it really fleshed the style of like we have this really new concept of parkour with two new abilities that I'm not going to spoil because they're really cool when you figure them out. Actually, one of them I can spoil because it was shown in the game in the trailers is the Mario-esque jump where you're jumping from one wall to the next all the way up. And a little fun fact of that before I go into combat is that actually that was taken that the scene where you learn that is taken directly from Metroid, where Samus, if you guys know Metroid, Samus finds these three little creatures and they jump up the wall to teach you how to do the Mario jump or the Mario jump esque. And in this game, they have three little creatures do the exact same thing. So it's a little nod to Metroid, which was really cool. But going
Bro,
from
that might have been the
that,
coolest thing you've said all day, by the way. Ooh, that's neat.
it is really
Yeah.
cool. And when I found that out, I was actually pretty excited about that. But going into gameplay, I think another thing they really did well, and the first game, I loved the gameplay. Or the combat. I loved being able to feel that like lightsaber Dark Souls esque, where it's just difficult. There's a lot of parrying and stuff. But this game, with the different stances that they introduced a kind of how you play and how you're a specific gamer and how that's going to correlate into how you
Oh,
kind of fight.
oh my gosh,
Um,
they did such a. They did again. I'm a feel person. First off, I'm gonna say that it felt more like a Sekiro than it did a Dark Souls. If you played either of those,
yeah,
because it's more parry based than it is dodge based. But they did such a good job of making the styles, at least from the ones I was doing, using those. They did a very good job of making it. If you play, if you play some certain kind of way, you should use this style. Or if you play some other different way, you should use this style. And you can feel it out for yourself. You can feel which style really kind of suits you. And I felt it immediately. Like, this isn't a spoiler or anything. I was playing the other styles. There's one new style that I was like, oh my gosh, this is awesome.
all of the styles
But
were
I
all of the
found
styles were
like,
released in trailers, so you can talk about it.
oh, okay,
Just so you
good, good. The Claymore style was the new style I was using originally in the first game. It's just the single blade and the dual bladed, and the Claymore style I was tried it out, and that really spoke to me. And it's like you're wielding a great sword. Like I don't know how you can get a lightsaber to look like it feels heavy, but they do, and they do it really well. Um, and the other style I ended up using, like I tried all of the different ones. I tried the dual wielding. I tried the single with the gun, and I tried Claymore, and I went through all of them. But the one that really spoke to me was double bladed. Like I didn't think of myself as that kind of person. Like I didn't think that that would be the style I would kind of go for as far as this game is concerned. But the more I played it, the more I could feel myself falling into it and being like, okay, this feels correct to me. This flows right for me. This
yeah.
feels like good. And they did such a good job of making that like stand out to you. At least in my case. It was just really cool to kind of go through those and test them all and feel like, okay, this is the one that this is the one I like.
I think I really loved that. I think they call it cross guard in the game.
Yeah, it was
But
crossguard style.
that
So
Claymore as aspects. Jeez. Uh, um, but like that kind of style where like what I was talking about, where if you're a heavy player, you like throwing big punches, but you don't really care about like the quick time, like dodging and stuff like that. Claymore was a really good fit for like you would just swing overhead on somebody, but it also left you to be like really easy to kind of hit. Um, and I think other stuff of like the blaster and the lightsaber where you could just keep long distance, and that's one I used quite a lot, where I was able to just kind of keep distance with somebody and then kind of swipe in, hit, but keep that blaster up. And I
Yeah,
really enjoyed how they did that.
it was so cool to see just how at least between the two of us like play differently.
Oh yeah,
I have always thought like speed, like going really quickly and doing as many attacks as possible in like a quick succession and like getting close to someone and like getting there and just going at it. I've always felt like that's like a more fun way for me to play, which is why the dual bladed spoke to me so much, because I don't need the range. Like the range piece was interesting, but it didn't, like I didn't feel it too much. And even like the double bladed I guess speaks closer to what I'm talking about. Like it's really quick, it's really fast, but for some reason the dual bladed, like the grouping mechanic of the dual bladed really just hit
oh
home
yeah.
with me more than the double bladed did. It's interesting. It's cool to see.
I think going from and then kind of moving, combat really played a role in obviously just how they worked with bosses and level design. Um, and I think we probably won't touch on this one too much. Like it literally will be like back and forth, just really quick, because the bosses are the main set piece of this game. And
Yeah.
without spoiling, you can't really go into too much about it. But I think personally, like I don't even really call it a negative. It's like a neutral to me. They did feel really easy. I was on Jedi Master, which is one higher than the normal difficulty,
Yeah.
and I just felt like it wasn't crazy hard, but it like or like it wasn't crazy easy, but it also definitely was not as hard as the first game for me. Like I struggled between like Marikos, I think that's what his name was. That
Marcos, yeah.
fight took me like almost Elden Ring hours. Like that thing was like awful to me. And I think that also because I hadn't dived into Dark Souls and that aspect of like high intensity gameplay. I think if you are a person who kind of enjoys that laid back, I think normal difficulty honestly may be the play for you. Um, but yeah, I think my two pieces about the boss is just that they were kind of easy, but they were super, super interesting, and all of the cutscenes that went along with the bosses were just phenomenal.
Oh
Um,
yeah, no. One of them specifically is standing out to me right now. It was so like it was mind breaking how they were going about it. It was so good and so
mm,
rich in like story and character development, and it was just oh, it was really cool. And I will say I kind of agree that it felt easy, but I think it's because I was not playing on Jedi Grandmaster.
yeah,
I think if I love Dark Souls and I love that series and I love that feel of a game where it's like you need to like be the best to do this correctly, and if you're not, you're gonna fail. You're gonna die in like two
mhm,
hits. Um, and while I did find some challenge at the Jedi Master difficulty, the normal being Knight, and then Grandmaster being one above that. And they tell you in the menu like how like what your parry time is versus like how much damage your enemies are gonna do, that kind of thing. And parry time
yeah,
for Grandmaster is like this much, where everybody else is like this much, and the bar is this long. But I did find that it felt easy as well, which I think if I had played it on Grandmaster, I don't think that would have been a problem.
mhm. I think yeah, no, I think that the difficulty was kind of just it was a neutral, it wasn't a negative for me. But
Yeah,
going
I
from
agree.
that, asking just once more, do you guys have any questions before we go into the last kind of two pieces of this?
So Leighton, why exactly are you a masochist? I'm just joking. I'm just messing.
I'm not a masochist. We've gone over this before in some previous
Yeah, no,
podcasts.
I could have done it on Grandmaster.
Oh
I
yeah,
We've gone
yeah.
over
honestly,
this before in previous podcasts. I am the kind of gamer where it's like I like a challenge. I don't know what it is. I do something. I'm like, I could have done that better,
it also
and then I end up being there for 2 hours.
it
Could have done that better.
100% could have also been the aspects of like both me and Leighton have played through Sekiro and specific Dark Souls games and just know that kind of like I think a lot of aspects before when I would going into a difficult game is like the knowledge in which you know when to back off and like play out a fight rather than just keep swinging as long as you can. I think that's a really big aspect of once you start playing those games, you start realizing like, oh, like you maybe you walk in for the first time and you go and the guy hits you and your health bar goes super far down and you go, oh, maybe the aspects is I just try to do as much damage as I can, and I think this game was very, like, I stood back and I immediately was like, okay, I'm gonna play this how I think I should play this, and I'm gonna give it distance, and I'm gonna move in slowly, and I'm gonna keep until like the bar kind of just wears down. Um, and I think that probably played into the easy mode of just we just have that knowledge.
It's
Yeah,
interesting too because it requires utmost patience when playing those types of games too.
Yeah,
And that's not necessarily for everyone. So for those people who are looking for an action-packed game, is this a game you'd recommend?
oh yeah,
100%.
definitely, 100%.
I think this game. I think if you haven't played Fallen Order, you should play Fallen Order first. But you definitely like this game is a must. It's definitely game of the year contender in my eyes. Even though I'm looking at Tears of the Kingdom, but I definitely think it's going to be in the discussion, and it may even be up there. Actually, I think it 100% is going to be up in that list. But
Oh no, it
So
will
it's
be.
gonna win
I
a
mean,
few things. It's like Elden Ring versus God of War. Like seriously.
yeah.
yeah, but Elden Ring
So
deserved it.
so
Much more.
going into our last final things here, one of the big focuses for me was music. Um,
Oh, yep.
this game blew my mind when it came to some of the moments where they played with music, and I actually was watching a couple interviews with the actress for Sierra Junda, who she's the mentor for Cal. She's in the first game a lot. She saves Cal's life. Um, it's a big aspect of she's in this game. I'm not gonna spoil how she plays a role, but some of the moments just like it gives me chills because they played with music in such a way that it was almost like entire scenes were orchestrated just through the music and like quite literally like there was orchestrated pieces but also like it almost felt like specific movements that the characters were doing were off of certain instruments in the background and one of the highlighted devastating moments in this game, like the not necessarily climax, actually maybe climax. That moment destroyed me in just how they played with that music, and I was very impressed throughout the entire thing. Even from the opening. The opening is just like mad crazy for no reason. Like the music goes hard for no reason, but it's just so funny. Uh, but yeah, Leighton, what did you think?
Yeah, no, oh my gosh. The music they had in this game was honestly, it was comparable to some of like hearing the sound, like hearing the music for the original Star Wars movies. Like some of some of the music when I went back to it and listened to some of that stuff like later in the game, you hearing like the main theme play, it was like it was iconic. Really, it was so well put together and so much thought was put into like how this piece is supposed to sound, how the emotions are supposed to play through here and through the music, and how like the action scenes would have the correct music for that, and like the exploration would have that kind of thing, and the big like important scenes would have incredible orchestral pieces going along with it, and it all fit the feeling of Star Wars.
So
Like,
it's so hard for me to believe that this music is so good it stacks up to John Williams. But that's
Okay,
what you're saying right now.
no, I will
That's
say,
crazy.
it's not the same as hearing the Star Wars theme or the Cantina band. It's not quite the same because John Williams is an amazing composer and he's done so much work that just blows people away. But I will say, they wanted to capture the sound of Star Wars, the feeling of Star Wars, and the drama and the like emotion behind all of it, and the power. They did a stellar job of that. I thought the music was incredible, especially during the big scenes. It all felt right for a Star
I
Wars
think
game. It gave Star Wars music, and I really appreciated that.
I think the scene that I was talking about, that devastating one, um, is it. I honestly could compare that song that they played to one of John Williams' songs. Um, it, it is surprising to me. I was just like baffled, but it like one that scene made me tear up just for emotional standpoints. But like I went back and just listened to it straight, and it is like I don't even like. I think it's a
Bro,
combination of
you're
Cal's
selling the
theme.
game so hard right now. It's so crazy because
David,
that
I
is
know, but
like,
I'm not
David
even
here is
joking.
like comparable to John Williams is just like,
Dude, I don't even know if you guys were there when I was playing. I think you guys were in the room when I was playing that scene. And I know a couple times, but like I listened back to that song and it's just like it's blows your mind. I might even be able to play it for you guys after the podcast, but I don't know. It's just
No,
like
but
it's so great.
bro,
honestly,
please don't because I'm gonna play that game eventually. So
Hell yes.
that
Okay.
the music, they did such a good job. Gosh, Joey, our music major friend, would go nuts over the stuff they did there. Um, like some of the way I don't want to get too far into it because I could go on forever about how awesome the music was, but it was really excellent and it really did drive home like
I
the feeling of this game for me.
Right. I think it definitely sold it 100%. One thing though, going into our kind of critiques here, that didn't really
Oh
sell it
yes.
as well, is I
Um,
had two, and actually, as you'll hear in my rating, I started this game off as a 10. I was like 20 or so hours in. It takes about 25 hours to finish the game, and I was fully ready to just be like, boom, 10. That's all I needed. Um, and as I talked to a couple more friends. I talked to Leighton. I talked to Nick, who had played the game all the way through. Getting their feedback and just kind of taking off the rose tinted glasses a little bit, there were some negatives that came in. And I think the
yes.
biggest for me was just the visual bugs and visual playback that this game had. It is beautiful. It runs really well, but there were some substantial, no, I wouldn't say substantial, but like there were some things that just kind of set the game back where you'd like pause and your immersion would be like flicked out of existence because now Cal is like 50 feet up in the air. You have no idea how he got there. Then he's back on the
And
ground, and then the game crashes.
he's like free floating like
Yeah,
a
and
Skyrim
he's doing
character.
like the GTA full thing, and then all of a sudden the game crashes. And that was a big thing of like day one, day two to just like
Oh my
the
goodness.
first week is
Literally, I was looking at the reviews on Steam earlier because the PC release was completely different from the Xbox release. The Xbox release, yeah, had some bugs here and there, and yes, there was some crashes and stuff. The PC release was like they just took the Xbox game and stuck it on PC without any
yeah.
sort of porting or anything, and people were really mad. It is technically rated as a 6 out of 10 on PC right now on Steam because of that reason. There were so many there were so many crashes, period, and they still haven't been fixed actually, which is a big piece about this.
I
But
think
there are so
they
many
probably
graphical issues. They have not fixed them yet. I looked at the reviews, recent reviews, still nothing.
there was focus on fixing Xbox, which there were a couple day one patches that came out, but
Yeah.
for the most part, I saw it so much more in Leighton's playthrough than I did mine. But like there were substantial things where it's just like the entire game would kind of pause for a sec, and then some random glitch would happen. Maybe like an enemy would bug the hell out, and then the game would come back to kind of life again. But sometimes that would mess up the entire gameplay, and
like in your immersion for stuff. There were
right,
multiple times. There were multiple times where enemies that I would have to fight, like big enemies, that I'd be like, oh, son of a nutcracker, I have to do this. I have to fight this guy again, and I would I would go for him, and I would do like this one thing the devs like weren't like expecting, or like the game AI was not expecting for me to do. Like, for example, I'm just gonna put it out there. One of the enemies is like a big beast, because you fight beasts in the first game too. There's this one big beast. I don't remember the name of it, but there's a scene where it's coming out of like this like stone area, and it's coming out towards these stormtroopers. And there's always been some theme of like the Empire interacting with the local wildlife among these games, but the stormtroopers are like sitting there, and they're gonna get destroyed by this beast. I had not realized that there was a beast coming, and I had immediately switched into Empire combat mode. So I had force pulled the stormtrooper, one of the stormtroopers, away from where the beast was going towards, and the AI tracked the stormtrooper, and the stormtrooper fell off a cliff, and the beast disappeared with the stormtrooper. Because I was I was focused on the other stormtrooper there, and I wasn't like expecting this beast to come out, and it did, and it followed the stormtrooper, and I like flick around, I'm like, where'd it go? Gone. There was no trace. No trace of this annoying enemy I had to do. And that happened multiple times, on multiple occasions for me, which really was like, ugh. But as far as graphical and gameplay issues, that was the big thing.
Yeah.
For me.
Honestly, I think I have one tiny more kind of critique, and then
I have one more.
Yeah, and then we'll go into our review or our rating, and then Nerdy News will wrap up. I think I really enjoyed the planet hopping that came in for the first game, and this game I did find myself kind of, I wouldn't say annoyed, but like bored almost, when after I finished the game there is other things you can do, bounties, you can do side quests, but what really kind of stuck was just that there was not much to do. I mean, there was just a ton of like, hey, you have to go to this planet, then go to this planet, then do this small thing, then go to this planet. And it was just incredibly, I don't know, I would say like
tedious,
over the top, and just tedious. And it got to the point where I knocked it 0.5 points from where I am now because of it. But other than that, it was just a small thing. Leighton, what was your critique?
My final critique for it was the map system. Like the in-world map system, as much of an improvement as it was from the first game, because I will admit it was a big improvement from the first game, and they did a much better job, I think, of the map system. Sometimes I would lose myself because I was trying to follow the main storyline, and I was trying to go directly to each of the story things because I was on a time crunch to get this thing done and to play the game to finish the story. Sometimes I would lose myself. I'd be like, okay, the marker is over here, so I go this way, but I can't go anywhere further because I don't have the ability to do this stuff yet, so where the hell do I go now? And there were times where there's one specific instance I remember where I was like, okay, this isn't working, so I had to go to the other area, which is another huge location you have to go through and try to find exactly where the path you're trying to take. And it wasn't as directed as I think it could have been. Like, if you were trying to follow the main storyline, you could lose yourself in the rest of the world. And while that does like follow as far as like an experience is concerned, and how like what Cal would actually probably be going through doing his story, that's not what you're trying to look for as a gamer. as a player of the game who's an immersive, like looking for the immersive experience. You're just looking to try to get to point A to point B, and I think that kind of falls in with what you were talking about, Ethan, where if you have to go to this planet, to this planet, back to this planet, to this planet, that takes time, and that time does not have it does not have to take as much time as it does, and I think the developers could have cut down on that kind of thing and maybe directed a little bit better as far as like specific individual things you had to do.
Right.
But I do think overall they did a very good job, and I kind of had a sense of where to go. I just had to think about it a little bit more than I would have liked to sometimes.
So, getting into your overall, what would you overall rate Jedi Survivor?
Well, Ethan, why don't you go first?
I asked you. Okay. All right.
Yes, but you see, I'm kidding. Before we finish with our overall rating, I do want to ask
Okay,
Aiden
that's right.
and David if you have any more questions for us about
Right now.
our thoughts.
So, the bugs concerning PC stuff. Is there a date that they're estimated to fix this? Because, I mean, like, for me, I am a PC player. I do not own an Xbox. I do not own a PS5. I would need to play this on a PC. That is an extreme negative for me.
I'm honestly not sure. I do
I would
believe that
assume it's done in
it's
like a
been.
month though.
I believe.
I just checked
I
out
did.
the reviews on Steam. There currently is no fix. If it actually might have gotten worse. Reading through the reviews, it's like,
I love when they do that.
Yeah, it's like I'm reading reviews and it's like, all right, I bought this 3 patches in and it's atrocious and unplayable. It eats up 12 gigabytes of my VRAM and then crashes.
That's rough.
That's just ridiculous. Oh my god.
It's not
It's
looking
made
so
for the
hot.
honestly,
Xbox.
I think they
It's made
did
for the
really
Xbox.
focus on Xbox, and I think we will probably see, because Respawn does care. It's just I think they really just wanted to home in onto Xbox and PC or PS5.
I'm honestly I'm a little worried for PC Jedi Survivor because Respawn has a history of forgetting things.
That's fair.
A certain
I think
Anthem.
Titanfall 3.
Oh no, you right. You
That's
right.
awful. Oh my
I
lord.
do-
Respawn
I think
has a
it's
history for that
place.
kind of thing, so
I
hope
think they
not
are gonna
either.
probably work on it though. Like we'll see something in like a month or 2 months, which kind of sucks for PC gamers, but it will be fixed, and that's a positive, I guess. I don't know.
Will
I
be
guess
is a guess.
that's true.
It's potential that it will. It's potential it won't. We'll just have to wait and see for that kind of thing. And I agree. I am a PC gamer. Not that my PC can run anything. But I do want to see where they'll go with that. And I hope Respawn does not forget about the PC, the poor PC players.
All right,
But-
so Layton,
Aiden, anything?
Your-
Do you have any other questions?
Nope, I got nothing to add.
Aiden got no questions.
David?
He's got nothing. All right. So
Okay.
Layton Martinez.
Overall, I believe the overall rating for Light in general, because I know my rating, and I think I know Ethan's rating. Ethan, is your rating still what I think it is?
I don't think so. You may have to check.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
You know, because I was thinking about doing that too. Okay.
Oh, for real?
Good.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing that too, because I was thinking about it a little more. My final thoughts. I think Jedi Survivor as an overall rating for me, 9.25 out of 10.
You are a little shit. You know that? You are a little. I'm lowering you to a 9. You're not allowed to do that. Because that means that when I say my rating, which, spoiler alert, I'm giving Jedi Survivor a 9, we have to put something in between 9 and 9.2 or 9.
Guys,
9.
what's the
No,
problem
fuck.
here? Just do 9.125. That's like no problem at all, right?
My rating is a 9.12. Just kidding. No, but in reality, it is My rating is somewhere between a 9 and a 9.5, and I think it falls closer to a 9. So I'm also going to give it a 9 out of 10, so I
Okay.
don't have to confuse the decimals.
Yeah, so that means that overall the 4-light rating for Jedi Survivor is a 9 out of 10, which I'm pretty
9 out of
excited about.
10, guys.
I'm excited to
9 out
go
of 10.
back and play it New Game Plus and stuff like that, which is
I
not something
do
I can say
want
for a lot of games.
I do want to stipulate really quickly, just as a little general background information. Ethan and I had both originally thought about rating Jedi Survivor at 9.5 out of 10 because you were like, okay, yeah, bugs here and there, maps. Going through this conversation, I believe both of us were like, it kind of needs to be dropped down a full point because of the things that Respawn have failed to
It
deliver
needs to be
on.
worked on. It needs to be worked on.
It needs to be, and
And that doesn't mean these are final ratings, by the way, by any means. It's just that at this moment, it is a 9 out of 10.
Agreed. I agree. I think I would very much love to give this game a 10 out of 10 because the story was one of the best video game stories I have immersed myself in a long time. So
Yeah.
they did respond to the devs and the story team did a very good job of writing this one. But yeah.
So,
Alrighty.
Aiden, you want to bring us into our next thing? That's our review?
Small thing. I don't know what the nerdy news is because you never wrote a script.
I know, so that's why I bounce it to you, and then we bounce it right back to me. Hey, that was the idea.
So here we are entering our nerdy news section of the podcast where we just spout out some random news that we've discovered while scouring the internet like the rats we are.
I think
And-
you mean you. Kidding.
Chronically online,
Kidding.
so,
Kidding.
no, that's just me. That's just me.
Discord moderator.
We are all currently on Discord.
But
And who's
if you
the
want me to
moderator
take
of
it, I can.
this?
I think Aiden will be excited about two of these to talk about because he hasn't had much input on this one, just because he didn't review anything. But I think starting, we have Overwatch 2's announcement that PvE is not coming, and this was like, this is just an entire thing in itself of like, I think I was almost not surprised because we had waited so long, but the only hope I had for Overwatch 2, other than it just being Overwatch 1, is that they were going to introduce a brand new story and new abilities, all this, and they just threw it out the window.
Many like trailers and gameplay stuff of like PvE with talent trees and
entire
like,
fucking first mission too.
Animations, like each
Blizzard.
the enemies would like interact in unique ways to different bullets and like types of bullets. They had like a fully immersive system that they were building, and they showed it all, and it's gone.
I think
Literally
my brain's gonna
wiped
break.
clean.
How is my brain?
I don't know.
How does this? What?
I don't know what it is, but Blizzard
Wiped
once
clean.
again proves to be a shitty game developing company.
You know what's
it just makes my heart. It makes me so happy sometimes. Oh,
I'm not even joking.
It's so
it was
funny.
a video they had released or I think it was a live stream.
It was a live stream. It was like a
Yeah.
Q&A with the dev to like on
And-
what is going on moving forward, and it was literally just PvE's not coming. Anyway,
And
so
the worst thing about it is that they had a roadmap posted in Overwatch 2 that you can see visually, where it was, okay, this is our season 4, season 5, season 6, and what we're going to be doing. And they had some really cool stuff. And one of them in season 5 was PvE finally coming, and everybody was like, "Oh yes, finally, let's go!" And then they released a live stream, and they're like, it takes too much work. It's hard. We don't want to anymore."
Hard.
They literally
buy
like-
Developing
skins.
is difficult.
I'm
Game
serious.
developing is difficult.
I have been coping. Like, I've been coping and seething and malding about Blizzard for these past, 3 years. Because I am at my heart, I was raised on Diablo. I was raised on World of Warcraft. I was raised on Overwatch. I was a Blizzard fan. I legitimately wanted to go to BlizzCon as a kid. I'm gonna lose my mind because what did they do? They were a titan of the industry when I was younger, and now
Looking
they are
back,
so gone.
I
looking
saw
don't know
I
back
what
on
it
this
is.
game,
saw a TikTok that's just like Blizzard and Mojang duking it out to see who can do the least with billions of dollars.
yeah,
I love
I
it.
like
I love it.
what
I don't
was
know what it is. It
so
just fills my heart with joy. I hate Blizzard.
honestly, I'm at a point where it's just like what we see now with this is that what Overwatch 2 basically did, what these devs did, is they took the base game, made it free to play, which a lot of people had already purchased Overwatch 1, so they were not getting many sales off that. They took the free things about Overwatch 1, such as loot boxes, cosmetics, emotes, all that, and monetized it, made a battle pass, and then put it out, and that's it. So from a standpoint, like looking back, this honestly now with no PvE looks like it was just a cash grab.
It's just
That's
a cash
all it
It
grab,
was a
was.
and
marketing
they've
scheme.
done it multiple times,
It
and
was a
I
marketing
am
scheme
pissed.
to one, divert people's attention away from the company's internal issues. That you can look at the news for that one. We probably shouldn't mention on the podcast. Um, and also just a cash grab to monetize the same way other games have been monetizing.
I am fully serious. I don't think I'm buying Diablo 4. Like, this has pissed me off this much.
Wow.
Like,
Wow.
I don't want
Oh
to
Don't.
support
my
this company.
Don't.
lord.
Like,
David
just
not buying Diablo. This is bad then.
that's like, yeah, I'll
I'm
play Diablo. I'll play Diablo 3. I love that game, and I've put hundreds of hours into it. I still play it with my family. Like, I'll still play that game. I don't think I want to support this company. I don't want to put any extra money of my own money into this company until they start, fucking shaping up. Because, oh my
yeah, I
god.
think
I don't think they're
the
gonna recover from this.
it was an interesting thing where both me and Aiden got on and I went, oh, so what do we play? And like we're going through our games and I go, I guess Overwatch. And Aiden, like we get on and we're playing for like 15 minutes. And I just go, why are we playing this again? What is the goal? And Aiden just goes, no, but like for real, why are we playing this? And we both hopped off.
Yeah, we
We were
both went
just
to
like, no,
Fortnite.
it's not worth it. It's like
And then
the
we got our
game
ass
is just there's
kicked at
nothing to
Fortnite.
it. But
It's
yeah,
the
no,
same
that
game as
is our
Overwatch 1.
Oh,
The new heroes are mid at best and broken at worst, and they monetized everything cool about it.
it's so disappointing.
as much hate as I give Blizzard, one can only hope, right? One can only be like, maybe sometime they'll fix themselves, because
Yeah.
at the moment it's kind of a laughing stock.
I
I'm
would
sorry,
love
Blizzard.
to see Overwatch 2 like succeed. Like that's not what any of us are saying, especially is like when we go into these conversations about specific games, we all love games so much and the focus is not to be like, ah, yes, this game should not exist anymore. It should be this game we want to see it succeed. We want to see it do well, and that was our conversation about like Redfall and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm so disappointed in what they're doing.
More reason to buy indie games instead.
That's what I'm
Terraria.
saying, baby.
Terraria.
No, speaking of
Um,
which, I have a thing I want to talk about for nerdy news. Can I hop on here really quick?
Go right ahead.
Yes, sir.
Silk Song has officially been delayed. I'm
Yeah,
just
it
putting
has.
it out there. It has
Are
officially
you
been
kidding?
delayed.
It could
And I
potentially
am
not
okay
be
with
in
this.
2023.
No, I'm seriously fine with this. I get it. They pushed themselves a little too hard. Their problem was that they didn't talk to the consumers. They've done that now. Does that make up for the years of silence? Absolutely not. But they've spoken, and I'm okay with it. Make a goddamn perfect game, Team Cherry.
No,
Go ahead,
that's-
you
if
fucking
Silk Song
indie dev.
releases like Q3, Q4 or something, like out of nowhere, that's like Game of the Year contender. Like very,
Oh, 100% it will.
very real
I
Game
mean-
of
Or
the
they
Year
could,
contender.
or you know what Team Cherry could do? They could wait till 2024 to release Silksong. Considering they have to compete with Survivor right now
And Tears of the Kingdom.
And Tears of the Kingdom.
and
seriously.
Tears of the Kingdom.
They
Might
are
be on
literally-
marketing tactics and not do that.
Maybe that's what they're doing.
I mean, seriously.
No,
the
game's
the
done.
game
What
has
a
been
strat.
done for like 3 years now. They've just delayed it because of
They
Elden
released
Ring
it
and
in
God of
January.
War, and then Tears of the Kingdom and Jedi Survivor. They're going
They're
for the
like,
Game of
we
the
get,
Year
like-
award.
I mean,
They should-
honestly, a stretch.
we should
Like,
wait a
if they can get Game of the Year, which is a very real possibility, that game legitimately might be one of the best things that they could have ever done. So,
Just watch
Yes,
though. 2024, we get Sekiro 2. It's like, oh shit. Well, one more year.
So we get like Sekiro DLC, like what, 4 years after the fact. It's all about
GTA
Ishin. You get to
6.
play as Ishin.
it's just GTA. It's just GTA 6.
Oh my god!
Actually,
GTA 6
wait a
released.
minute. I think. Yeah, GTA 6 released a release year finally. When is it? Let me look really quickly. Excuse me.
That was like 2026.
2020 in fiscal 2025, we expect to enter this new era by launching several groundbreaking titles.
While he's looking that up, Armored Core 6 released a trailer like 3 weeks ago, and a release date.
What?
that's sick.
I have not seen that.
The release date is August 25th, 2023.
Bro, did you hear
That's-
Elder Scrolls
Oh,
6 is coming
Wait
out?
a minute. Wait a minute.
Okay,
Hold
I'm
on.
joking.
August 25th, 2023.
Yeah.
Bro, my wallet, dude. I can't be doing this. This is not okay.
Bruh.
This is
No, so it
Hey,
seems that Take-Two has not specifically stated that Grand Theft Auto 6 is going to come out in 2025, but they say we expect to enter this new era by launching several groundbreaking titles that we believe will set new standards in our industry and enable us to achieve over 8 billion in net bookings, which is a lot of damn money. $8 billion is a lot of zeros. So, I mean, it has to be two of their bigger titles, and like one of two of their bigger titles, and it looks like it might be Grand Theft Auto 6.
I mean,
So
if
it better
GTA
not
5
be
is such a
RDR3.
huge popular game that I genuinely believe GTA 6 will break the internet harder than like Tears of the Kingdom or Survivor or whatever, because it's like Skyrim 2. It's like
No,
if they
seriously.
released Skyrim 2 and it's not just
No,
Skyrim
I
again.
think legitimately it is going to be a bigger
Yeah.
game than even like Elder Scrolls 6 coming out. I'm being serious because of the fact that like I literally was looking at the
That's a lot of
page
audio.
during this podcast. It has 1.5 million reviews on Steam. Like that is comical. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, it's also been out
It's
forever.
nuts.
See, GTA 5 has been like doing the Skyrim of releasing itself on all the different consoles and different generations this whole time, but
Yeah.
in the background they've been making new things and adding new things and also teasing like the possibility of GTA 6, whilst only recently have we gotten confirmation that Elder Scrolls 6 is potentially in the works.
No.
So
Yeah.
it's gonna be
Those
gonna
two
be big.
games, those two games better be groundbreaking if they ever come out. They better be like, holy shit!
You
like,
know
they
what's
have to
also gonna be groundbreaking? The Five Nights at Freddy's movie,
Yes.
Yo,
August 20
which
or
is our
October
next
28th.
nerdy news.
October
They released
28th.
a trailer.
Yeah.
It actually, as it does on every single thing gets hate by the internet, but I think it was pretty overwhelmingly positive for the most part. But
Yeah,
then
no,
there was
everyone-
some
okay.
negative.
I've
Tough.
been following it pretty closely. Everyone is really excited for the movie, and everyone thinks that it looks amazing, like CGI wise and like with the animatronics and all that. Everyone thinks it looks amazing, except for one detail: the fact that they have glowing red eyes. People thought that was cheesy and not accurate to the story, which actually it is. It's how they're described in the books, and it's how they're described when they're possessed, that they have glowing red eyes and they're on the attack.
Or
Well,
Josh
but
Hutcherson,
also-
man.
It is a little cheesy, and I will be honest, personally, I prefer the black beady eyes way more, and it looks way scarier and way better when people have edited the trailer to have that. But honestly, I still think it's going to be a great movie.
Well, then again, the books created this magical device that like emits a sound that incapacitated any single living being. So like,
It didn't incapacitate
I don't know
them, it caused them to hallucinate.
Oh yeah, well,
These
equally
guys
as
got Five Nights
insane.
at Freddy's lore.
Mm.
But like,
Look at
I'm
Matt
serious. I'm
I
serious.
just want to
At
say,
the same time, it's gonna be a movie that we're gonna go see. Like,
Oh,
it's not gonna
did
be
we
a
yeah.
ever
thing that we're
talk
just
about the
gonna sit through and
Iron
stuff.
Lung trailer that also came out?
Oh yeah, I think we did
yes,
in our last
Yeah.
one.
I think we
Yeah.
did.
That is
We did talk
something we
about it.
are going to give a review on over the summer when that comes
I
out,
just want to say,
because that's coming out soon.
poor Josh Hutcherson. You know that man. Ever since he went and played Zathura, he's never been the same. Ever
That's the
since
guy. That's why I
ever,
recognized him. That's why
Yeah.
I
he's been
recognized him.
He's also in Hunger
he's
Games and
yeah, he's in
A Bridge
Hunger Games,
to
Bridge to
Tabitha or whatever.
Terabithia. He's in Journey to the
Terabithia.
Center of the Earth. He's in Zathura. He's in Big Hero 6. He's in Polar Express. That guy, ever since he played that one little board game,
He's in Polar Express?
he's kind of
Yeah,
been stuck
for
there the
sure.
whole time.
That just
Yeah.
clicked. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Guys,
He's also
but
in Howl's
we
Moving
gotta
Castle.
give it up. If a single individual isn't in the game, then I'm gonna be very sorry, not in the game, in the movie. I'm gonna be very upset.
Yeah, no.
Because we
Yeah.
need.
Okay.
Okay.
If Markiplier ends up like having a cameo in the Five Nights at Freddy's movie, I want him to be the phone guy. Because he's not going to get a big part. He's not going to be main character or side character or whatever. He's probably not even going to be physically there. But phone guy, perfect because the filming schedule matched with Iron Lung's filming schedule. Easy enough to do at home where he could record his own lines and send them in. So being the phone guy would make the most logical sense, and I think that would be hilarious to go in and hear the ring, and it's just like, "Hello, my name is Markiplier."
Well, hello.
Yeah, my name is.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome to your
welcome back.
first night at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza.
I
That would
would
be
That would
amazing.
be amazing.
That's,
I just hope,
that's
or like
speculation.
he's
I
just
don't know
some,
that's gonna happen.
he's some like stupid side character, like he's a crotchety old janitor or something.
Who gets
jeez.
killed in the first 2 minutes?
We should probably wrap this up as we're pushing
Oh.
2 hours
Yeah,
at this point.
probably.
Yeah, we are in
Yeah.
2 minutes.
All right. Well, Aiden.
Well, thank you all for joining us today. As always, you can catch us on Sundays at 9:30 streaming on Twitch, and we upload all of our podcasts to anywhere you can listen to them: YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. We try to get those out consistently every week. I'm now the editor, so that I'm learning. Bear with me.
I also want to help. Let me help, Aiden.
You can.
Oh, actually,
we'll
yeah,
talk
we'll
about that later.
Sorry.
But thank you all for joining us today, and we appreciate you all and appreciate all of your support. And bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.